We're reaching you live from Lagos, Nigeria. This is News Central. I'm Felicity Ezewike. The top stories tonight. Troops rescue 16 kidnapped victims in Zamfara, Plateau, as northern senators press for safe release of worshippers. Presidency demands clarity from Atiku over proposed petrol subsidy policy. U.S. pauses immigrant visa applications as Trump administration tightens rules.
In business, Nigeria's OPEC quota boost fails to ease persisting fiscal pressures.
In sports, it is a new era for NPFL as league unveils new logo, secures fresh sponsorship deal.
Tonight begins shortly. We begin tonight with security matters. Northern Senators Forum has called for the immediate and safe release of residents abducted during an attack on a mosque and surrounding communities in Bongu local government area of Niger State. The forum condemns the attacks on Beya Mosque and villages in Dekara district, where gunmen reportedly abducted worshippers during Friday prayers. Its chairman, Senator Abdulaziz Yaradua, urged the federal government to deploy more security personnel to the affected communities and review the security architecture across Niger State and the North Central region. The senator said stronger security measures are needed to prevent further attacks and protect residents from persistent threats of abduction. Meanwhile, troops of Sector 2 Operation Fasonyama have foiled an attempted abduction and rescued 14 kidnapped victims in Safe local government area of Zamfara State. The troops acted on credible intelligence about armed attackers in the area. The soldiers engaged the group, forcing them to abandon their vehicles and flee into nearby bushes. A follow-up search led to the discovery and rescue of the captives. One victim sustained gunshot wounds and was taken to the General Hospital for treatment, while no security personnel were injured. Staying on the same stretch, troops of Operation Enduring Peace have rescued 2 kidnapped victims in separate operations in Bassa and Kanam local government areas of Plateau State. Now, the rescue followed intensified efforts to disrupt criminal and terrorist activities across the state. The Joint Task Force said troops in Bassa launched a search and rescue operation on Tuesday after receiving credible information about the abduction of Ndubisi Onuibo. Joining me now from Plateau State is security analyst Gideon Para-Mallam. Gideon, thank you for obliging us tonight. I mean, we've seen some success in terms of rescue in Zamfara and Plateau, yet abductions continue across the north. What would be some of the practical measures that military and the police can put together to make this kidnapping a little or more increasingly difficult and costly for criminal groups?
Thank you, dear Felicity, for this opportunity, but also highlighting some of the very minimal, if I'm allowed to use that expression, progress that we're seeing in Nigeria. What should our security be doing? Number one, intelligence gathering. Just from what you have shared, lots of intelligence, coordination between the citizens, people who live in those communities, and the security has helped to make it possible for those rescued operations to have taken place in Zamfara State and then in Bassa local government of Plateau State and Kanam local government. So it's intelligence. Second, our military, our security efforts, they need to continue to synergize effective coordination between the military, the police, the DSS, with respect to some of the terrorist hideouts. Third, it's absolutely necessary that the citizens of this country, those who live in those communities where many of these attacks are taking place, they need to make a commitment to cooperate with the security agencies. Even in places like the United States of America, in places like the United Kingdom, and in other places, even Europe, security agents are not magicians. They really cannot do everything. So they need intelligence. So I'm bringing us back again to the first point, that effective cooperation between the security agencies and the population, they need to continue to work in synergy to be able to confront these terrorists, these bandits, these kidnappers who continue to make life a mystery for the good people of Nigeria.
I know this is not at the heart of today's conversation, but it's a conversation, it's a question that has come up more frequently with these kidnappings that we were having, and that's ransom payment. What is your thought about how Nigeria can better manage this situation? Because prior to now, the comments have been the federal government does not negotiate with terrorists or kidnappers or bandits, but these days we hear, let's crowdfund and pay ransom. So what are your thoughts about negotiations and ransom payments that seems to be in increasing use?
Yeah, thank you. To be honest, again, it's a very difficult one. I mean, if I sit here and basically said, okay, negotiate with terrorists, don't negotiate with terrorists, it's not as easy as that. I think the official policy of the Nigerian government, and I got to know this going back to when I've been advocating for the freedom of Leah Sheribo, is the difficulties of wanting to negotiate with terrorists at that time. And I'm going to come back to answer you specifically. At that time, Boko Haram demanded a certain amount of money around October, November 2018 that made it impossible for anybody to give them that money, because if they got that money, they'll go back and buy arms. And they wanted that money to trade for the freedom of Leah Shari, but ultimately, Leah is still in captivity. So does it pay off to negotiate with terrorists? Sometimes, yes. Most times, no. In Nigeria, Kaduna State, in particular, there are cases in which people have paid money to these kidnappers, to these bandits. They've collected the money and still proceeded to kill the victims. That has happened in Plateau State also. That has happened in Niger State also, even Para State. So would paying ransom ultimately free Nigerians from the menace or the tragic situation of kidnapping? I don't think so. So there's got to be a combination of multiple approaches.
All right.
If you say you won't negotiate, they'll end up killing your relative. So relatives, honestly, they just don't have a choice. They've
quite
got
unfortunate.
To do whatever they need to do to free their loved ones.
Yeah, Gideon, it is a complex situation, really, talking about kidnapping, ransom, and payment. But we have limited time. Otherwise, I would have asked further about that. Just quickly talk to us. Should security agencies move from what people are saying is largely reactive approach to a more proactive strategy of hunting down kidnapping networks and their sponsors, especially when we hear that they've retreated to forests? Should they go to those places to find them?
Absolutely. My dear sister Felicity, that's the best thing to do. Listen, going back to Zamfara, the road between Funtua and Gusau, when you hear Tsafe, where the rescue was done, was actually in Tsafe local government of Zamfara State. So in between Funtua and Gusau, that's where most of the terrorist activities, the kidnappings and the killings have been taking place in Zamfara State, particularly one village called Magazu and another village second, Kucheri. So if some of us could be able to highlight some of these names, how come the military cannot go to those particular areas, condone them off, and operate to root out the terrorists? So to be proactive is to, again, back to the question of intelligence. I think that people are also supplying intelligence. Let's be honest and let's be fair. People provide intelligence to the military people. So why do they have to wait until these people have acted and then they react to try and act to help them act? And so you have that same situation. In Plateau State, there are particularly places that have been identified like Mahanga. And there are also places that are terrorist hideouts between Nasarawa State and Plateau State on both borders. That's Wamba. Why can't something be done proactively to actually get these people out? Well, I think that the security can do more than just react once in a while. Let them be consistent in moving to root out these terrorists from their hideouts.
We sincerely hope that they listen. I know they're doing a lot, but advice like yours should be taken. Thank you for speaking with us.
Thank you, Felicity.
Staying with security matters, but this time cyber crimes, the Nigerian Police National Cybercrime Center says that it has traced over 3.6 billion naira in suspected criminal proceeds converted to cryptocurrency as its operatives arrested suspects linked to investment fraud, romance scam, identity theft and impersonation. Assistant Inspector General of Police in charge of the center, Akaniene Ezima, disclosed this in Abuja, saying that Kelechi Ihekari, owner of Keystart Technology, was arrested in Lagos over alleged involvement, investment fraud and money laundering, with the funds converted to USDT through Bybit. In other operation, he revealed that David Temitope was arrested over alleged business email compromise, with more than 12.5 million victim email logs recovered and linked to victims in over 50 countries. Emeka Anthony and Ogboji Emeka were arrested in Anambra State over alleged identity theft and trading in pre-registered SIM cards. And Babatunde Idowu, arrested for allegedly impersonating senior police officers and defrauding a victim of 17 million naira.
Included the inward transfers to the listed companies that I mentioned above earlier. That's Ama Digital, JPM Pro Online, and JPM Enterprise Trading. Further investigation revealed that this 3.6 billion, which is proceeds of crime, was converted into USDT through a wallet address and peer-to-peer transactions and sent as cryptocurrency to the final beneficiaries. Emeka Anthony admitted to being a registered toolkit operator with MTN and Airtel and engaging in the buying and selling of both registered and unregistered SIM cards. He further admitted creating a social media profile using the identity of Catherine Harry, purportedly a United Kingdom citizen, with the intention of defrauding individuals in India. The suspect stated that he was introduced to the fraudulent activity by one Alhaji who is currently at large.
You're still watching Tonight on News Central. There is more after this break. Stay with us. A quick recap of our top stories. Troops rescue 16 kidnapped victims in Zamfara, Plateau as northern senators press for safe release of worshippers. Presidency demands clarity from Atiku over proposed petrol subsidy policy. U.S. pauses immigrant visa applications as Trump administration tightens rules. The presidency has criticized former Vice President Atiku Abubakar over what it describes as conflicting positions on petrol subsidy. Special advisor to the president on information and strategy, Bayo Anonuga, says Atiku and his aides have offered different explanations of the policy within a week. Atiku has said he would restore a targeted subsidy to support Nigerians' purchasing power, while his aides have given differing accounts of how long the policy would last. The presidency is demanding clarity on the proposed subsidy, including its cost, beneficiaries, funding, and conditions for removal. It also argues that inflation is driven by factors beyond petrol prices. Let's get further perspective on this. Isialem Agmo is an energy and policy expert. He joins us for this conversation. Thank you, Prof, for being here. Is the presidency right to demand clarity on Atiku Abubakar's proposal to reintroduce targeted petrol subsidy, especially when they have their own plan? Would you say this is them listening to the opposition?
I think they are both wrong. They are both wrong. The president is not an economist, and Atiku's people, they are not economics. They are fighting over how do we manage the suffering of the poor, instead of focusing on the fact that the policy is completely wrong. There is no subsidy. There never was any subsidy. What the IMF did was to say that our petrol in Nigeria should be priced at international prices on the basis of import parity. That means we should assume that our crude oil is produced abroad, refined abroad, and imported into the country. Then that is the price that Nigerians should pay. When Nigerians do not pay that, says the IMF, we are having an implicit subsidy because we are paying the true production cost and refinery cost of our crude oil in Nigeria. So IMF rejected the production cost pricing method. This is the method that is used in the USA, Russia, China, and all over the world. But for developing countries, the IMF said, when you use production cost in your own country because you have oil, you are losing the advantage of selling it abroad. Therefore, the difference between importation price and production price is what they call an implicit subsidy. The truth of the matter is, in Nigeria, what we call subsidy have been nothing but corruption cost. The IMF now said, when you increase petrol prices, the IMF justify it by saying increase petrol prices as if you are importing the petrol into Nigeria. The difference between that imported price and the price if you have produced the petrol in Nigeria is what is called implicit subsidy. So increase the price. So they kept increasing the price every time they increase the price. But the IMF found out that it has a damaging effect on the poor. So the IMF put together a program which Nigerian government have been using, the Nigerian elite ruling class. The IMF said, develop the price increase, do a good communication, and make sure you explain it to your people. Make sure you increase the price little by little, what we call the boiling frog strategy. That is, you put a frog in boiling water, increase the temperature, it won't know. Then the IMF said, target the poor. Make sure you help the poor because the impact on the poor will be terrible. And then depoliticize the energy prices. So Atiku is arguing with Tinubu about how to target the poor because everybody knows that the poor is suffering and increasing petrol prices does not help the poor at all. It causes
but
inflation.
Atiku is saying that the policy is really to support Nigeria's purchasing power. So the question would be, can a targeted petrol subsidy genuinely reduce the cost of living burden? Or would it only provide temporary relief, especially looking at the fact that Onanuga is asking for clarity. His aides are saying something different, and he is saying something different.
The only thing that will help Nigerian poor people is to reduce petrol price to production cost method level. You use the production cost method to price the price of petrol. That means to reduce petrol prices. Targeted income, giving cash flow to the poor. This is reinvention of Shopee program that was run under Iweala and under Jonathan. You give money to the poor, you bring buses, CNG projects. These are all IMF suggestions. Buy buses, give money to the poor. This was done under Jonathan. It did not work under Shopee. In fact, the Kolade Committee for Shopee made sure that all the programs failed under Iweala and Jonathan. It was done under Buhari. It did not work. It's not being done under Tinubu. It is not working. The poor are suffering. There are three stakeholders that are involved here: the poor, Dangote and the producers, and the international cabal with the marketers. Every time you increase petrol prices, the international cabal that used to be the people that were responsible for this corrupt looting of this so-called subsidy, they themselves, they are fighting Dangote because Dangote have taken a part of what they used to loot as corruption. Dangote have captured it under its oligopolistic prices. So Dangote and the oil importers and the oil traders, they are fighting. The oil cabal is fighting Dangote because they want to share this corruption subsidy, and the prices is very high and the masses are suffering. So the only thing that will help the masses of Nigerian people is to base the pricing of petrol on production cost, not on import parity. Once you do that, that will affect inflation. And petrol affects everything for the poor. 56% of the income, household income of the poor, is spent on food. When you increase petrol prices, food prices go up. 11% is spent on transportation.
Right.
You increase petrol prices, transportation costs go up. Another 12% is spent on rent and health. So what is happening is that poor people, the country, whether it's to run your generator, to go to the office with Danfo or Molue, no matter what you do, the country is dependent on petrol for moving people and goods. So one of the major contributions to inflation and poverty in Nigeria is the cost of energy. For the speaker, for Bayo Onanuga, because of politics, to deny what he knows, that for the poor, petrol prices is an integral part of inflationary effect and the reducing of their purchasing power. That is a fact that Bayo knows, and he should not deny that. I think what they should do is reject the whole IMF thing, base the price of petrol on production costs, which means it will be lowered from around 1,175 naira a liter to about 570 naira a liter.
All right, Prof.
Put it on production costs.
I'm sorry, that's all the time we have. Thank you, as always, for speaking with us.
Yes, thank you. I think the rich speak for themselves between the cabal, Dangote, and the politician. The poor, no. I don't think their case is being made.
All right. A short break. The news continues right after. Nigeria and Thailand have agreed to strengthen bilateral relations across key sectors, including technology, agriculture, commerce, and renewable energy. This follows a high-level meeting between Vice President Kashim Shettima and a Thai delegation led by Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Affairs Minister Yusuf Kalawi at the presidential villa in Abuja. Speaking on behalf of President Bola Tinubu, Shettima called for a strategic review of existing partnerships, urging both countries to move beyond traditional trade in crude oil and rice and tap into broader economic opportunities driven by Nigeria's youthful population and vast market potential.
Opportunities are available in this country, in ICT, in mining, in renewable energy, in agriculture, because the whole mantra in agriculture is increase in yield, and you have excelled. I visited some farms in Thailand, rice farms that are producing 20 metric tons per hectare. And I believe entrepreneurial capitalism is embedded in the very psyche of the average Nigerian. But what our people are lacking are the skill sets and the resources to place them a Jeffrey's space ladder of development.
The purpose of my visit is to underscore the importance we attach to Nigeria bilaterally, and also as a strategic partner in this policy of that Thailand we are pursuing, what we call the Thailand Africa Initiative, which is to enhance our partnership with the countries of Africa. We see a lot of opportunities in Africa. We want to not just do more trade investment, we want to be a partner in terms of helping your development process. And we have experiences to offer in terms of agriculture, health, tourism.
Let's move away from that a bit and tell you that the Ghanaian government has declined a proposed 20 million Ghanaian cedis donation from MTN Ghana to support citizens affected by recent xenophobic attacks in South Africa. Ghana's foreign ministry said on Wednesday that it was aware of media reports concerning the planned donation to Ghanaian victims. The ministry commended MTN Ghana for the gesture, but said the government had decided to respectfully decline the offer. The proposed donation, worth about 2.4 billion naira, was reportedly intended to assist Ghanaians affected by the attacks in South Africa. Joining me for this is Professor Daniel Dramani Kipo Suyenzi. He is an associate professor at the Legion Center for International Affairs and Diplomacy, University of Ghana, Accra. Thank you for joining us on the news. Okay, I don't know if you could just adjust your camera a bit and move a bit to your left while I take the question. The Ghanaian government has now declined MTN's offer of 20 million Ghanaian cedis. I mean, they've not, I don't think there was an official statement yet as to that donation. Does this decision to reject suggest the government believes accepting the donation could send the wrong diplomatic or political message?
Thank you very much. Thanks to dear cherished listeners and viewers across the globe and in the continent. I think, yes, government of Ghana is rejection of the good gesture of MTN Ghana. It's not necessary that the relation between Ghana and South Africa has collapsed or there is a very cold diplomatic relation. Simply, government of Ghana is saying that they have allocated enough money to be able to assist Ghanaians who have been evacuated from South Africa because of the xenophobic attack. And government of Ghana paid for the flight in and out, all the 3 or 4 flights. Government of Ghana has mobilized money for that. And all these evacuees are safely in Ghana, and government of Ghana has given them money to be able to get back to their homes. Government provided their transport, and government provided them some small amount of money that they could start with in Ghana. So I believe that is the position of government that, well, we have already taken care of our citizens, and we may not necessarily need to take the donation off from MTN. But it doesn't necessarily mean that government of Ghana is unhappy with MTN. No, that might not be the case. And I think that it is just a position of government that we are capable of taking care of Ghanaians abroad, and even those who are in Ghana, who are brought home, who will still continue to take care, because there's a budgetary provision for that, and that is the position of government of Ghana.
Fair enough, but what are Ghanaians who are aware of this proposed donation saying? To your knowledge, are they happy with what the government is doing in terms of responding to the needs of those who are returning from South Africa?
Well, yes, as a democratic state, you might have other people express a diverse opinion. And I think I've read somewhere they said that, oh, government of Ghana, you could have received this money and use it as top-up, add to whatever you have given them. And, well, that is it. But the position of government is that, well, we do not need to top up, but government of Ghana has made a budget and government will continue to support them. And government also indicated that pragmatic steps have been taken to be able to get these returnees who are Ghanaians, our brothers and sisters who have come back, to be able to get them into jobs, whether public sector and government is also working on private sectors to be able to absorb these people. And mind you, most of these people were professionals. They were professional teachers, nurses that traveled to South Africa. So government will assist them to be able to reintegrate, to be able to take up their positions that they were before they left, and those who do not have and want to establish business, government will support them. Certainly, as I said, it's a kind gesture of MTN Ghana to support or complement the effort of government of Ghana. But government think that, no, not at this time. We don't know whether maybe in the future government may decide to think otherwise. I know it's a process. And also possibly government want to tell South Africa that South Africa is a very important country. It's a very important member of African Union. And Ghana have a good relation, and Ghana government will want to still work with South Africa. But certainly, the diplomatic message is that government of South Africa should do more to protect Africans in South Africa.
All right, Prof.
Because it is, and that is the point they want to give as a signal also.
Professor Daniel Dramani, thank you for speaking with us.
All right, thank you.
The United States has paused all immigrant visa applications as the Trump administration tightens immigration restrictions. The State Department says consular officers are undergoing additional training to ensure applicants are thoroughly assessed, including whether they could become dependent on U.S. public assistance. Applicants with scheduled interviews have reportedly had appointments cancelled and are awaiting new dates. The move is part of a broader crackdown on immigration, including tighter visa rules and increased scrutiny of applicants' social media histories. Immigration lawyers warn the pause could cause major disruptions for applicants who have already spent significant amounts of money on the process. To discuss this, global affairs analyst Bolu Michael B. joins us. Thank you for being here. What is your thinking as to what's driving Trump administration's decision to pause these immigrant visa applications?
All right. Thank you very much for having me. It's always a pleasure to be on the news. I think the administration is pausing the application for visa to roll out new, stricter for consular officers. They want to ensure that they can consistently reject applicants that they suspect might want to seek recourse to Americans' taxpayer public funds, and those who might seek the U.S. public assistance. I also think the pause is to allow the State Department to kind of synchronize all their embassies globally with new guidelines. Over the past few months and even the previous year, they've been having back and forth in terms of their fees, in terms of the policy. Today, they are accepting visas. Tomorrow, they are not. There are rules changing for B1, B2, all sorts. So they just want to take a deep breath, so halt the system and reset the entire process so that they'll stop tweaking. And they want to ensure that there's some level of stability and synchronized process across the board, across the embassies. And it will impact Africans. It will impact people from Latin America and also Asia. People from these three regions of the world tend to be the ones to get the big blow when it comes to these visa applications. So they are going to be stricter, and we'll see what comes out of it in the coming weeks.
I mean, immigration lawyers have shared concerns about applicants with scheduled interviews who have also spent a lot of money in the process. What are the implications here for them, mid to long term?
Okay, just imagine a scenario whereby a person has their maybe wedding planned, and maybe a week to the wedding, they just cancel their visa. It's quite traumatic. It imposes some direct financial and economic loss on people in similar categories. So some applicants, they spend several months and years gathering their documents. They pay all sorts of fees. They travel from long distance, only to face last-minute cancellation because they don't even have a guaranteed new date. And it's a whole ballgame when it comes to cancellation. If it's a rejected visa, there's a clear path. The path is clear. But cancellation, it leaves everything, the applicants in limbo. They're unable to plan their lives. They're unable to plan their careers or their movement or their family vacation and all that. And that undermines the credibility of the system, because people will be asking questions. If we can't manage ordinary visiting visas, how can we trust the system for permanent visa, for vacation and much more long-term visas, even citizenship? So it is not a good reputation for America in terms of their system. They are not known to be this unstable. The credibility has plummeted in the past few months and years, and the government cancelling appointment after years of preparation, rules changing overnight, it erodes the trust of the entire country, especially its legal immigration pathway.
I mean, the courts have given reprieve in some instances. Who knows? Perhaps it will step in this time around. We'll explore that maybe in a subsequent conversation. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Tonight returns with business, sports and entertainment news. Don't go away.
And in business, Nigeria has met its OPEC crude production quota for a third consecutive month, and in July slightly exceeded it, with output reaching 1.505 million barrels per day. However, analysts say the improvement has yet to translate into a meaningful boost in government revenue. Nigeria's 2026 budget assumes 1.8 million barrels per day, well above current production. Experts argue that contractual obligations, financing arrangements, and domestic crude commitments limit the amount of gross production that ultimately reaches the federal account. And coming now to the NGX, it appears the market has been left to the bears. The Nigerian equities market remained in the red on Wednesday, with the all-share index declining another 16 basis points. All-share index is now at 238,987.26 points, and we have the market capitalization at 154.14 trillion naira. If you take a look at sectoral performance, broadly based, it's all negative. Financial sector took the strongest hit. We can see insurance down 94 basis points, banking down 41 basis points, oil and gas also down 11 basis points, consumer goods 28 basis points, and we have industrial goods flat on the exchange for today. We'll see how the market continues. Last week, all in the red. This week, the 2 trading days in the red. That's as much as I can bring you tonight on Business Tonight. I am Joanna Mustafa. Up next, sports with Udoka.
In sports, the Nigeria Premier Football League has unveiled a new visual identity and logo alongside the landmark 3-year title sponsorship agreement with Euromatch worth $7.5 million. The deal, valued at $2.5 million annually, marks the league's return to a major traditional title sponsor after almost a decade. Under the agreement, 60% of the sponsorship revenue will go directly to participating clubs, with the funds expected to support player wages and improve team welfare. The partnership was unveiled at a ceremony in Abuja, attended by MPFL Chairman Gbenga Elegbeleye and other football stakeholders ahead of the 2026-2027 season. Now, the Nigeria Football Federation's Fact-Finding Committee has identified several administrative, technical and structural issues that contributed to the Super Falcons' disappointing WAFCON 2026 campaign in Morocco. The committee, chaired by Fani Amun, examined player release and communication, camp management, medical concerns, team development, league administration, government support, and the use of technology in Nigerian football. The report found no evidence of player influence over team selection and confirmed that Ashley Prompter was medically unfit after surgery, with her condition verified by team doctors and her club. However, the committee criticized unrestricted access by officials to the team's camp and called for clearer management structures, stronger regulations, improved data systems, staff development, and greater support for women's football. And that's a wrap on sports tonight. I am Udoka Njoko.
And tonight on Entertainment News, Ira Star is adding another global milestone to her growing resume. Her third studio album, Stargirl, has debuted at number 4 on the Billboard World Albums chart for the week ending August 29th. The 16-track project, released on August 14, sits behind 3 K-pop releases ahead of South African star Tyler's A-pop, featuring collaborations with Wizkid, Rema, Zayn, Leon Thomas, and others. Stargirl has also topped Spotify's album chart in Nigeria and reached number 8 on the UK R&B albums chart. This is another strong showing for the Nigerian singer on the international stage. And that's all in Entertainment News. I am Ekemini Jane.
And that's all we have for you tonight. Thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to send us your feedback. Use the number showing now on your screen to do that. You can follow us on all social media platforms at News Central TV. Live programming is on DSTV channel 422, GoTV channel 23, Star Times channel 274, Avo TV, and on YouTube. Thanks again for watching. I'm Felicity Ezewike.